how are you? I never know what to say in an intro. It's when I go to edit, it's literally like the weirdest shit to struggle to edit and have to look at myself for 20 minutes saying the randomest shit, trying to make them into an intro. I don't know what to do. Advice is to be left in the comments because I do need it. Hi, we are excited today. I'm so fucking excited today. Don't mind the ironing board in the background. I could have not mentioned it. Also, I cut my bangs some more because every time I read the book and it's given me a nervous breakdown, I have to take it out somehow. I'm super fucking excited for this video. For a couple of reasons. So, recently I've done, oh my god, have I asked you how you are? How are you? Hi, I'm excited if you couldn't tell. Hope your mental health is cool. If it's not, rant in the comment. I'm like dead ass right now. I'm dead serious. If not, something isn't okay, tell me what's happening and I will have a full-on conversation with you because I'm fucking lonely. that was a selfish reason to say. I should have just cut it and said you can just rant in the comments and cut it and that would have been wholesome, but it's not. I have a drum. I have a... Recently, I've done a video where I read a book that inspired my favorite book of 2021 when this channel didn't exist and I wasn't documenting everything, and I shouldn't have. 2021 would have been the most depressing channel you've ever came across. In a full fucking year, I've read 2.5 books or 3.5, I can't fucking remember. And one of them was a Fyodor Dostoevsky book, which didn't help the case that I was mentally unstable and freshly out of a mental institution. I'm not even fucking kidding you, right? But yeah, I read a book that inspired it, which was the Iliad. It was this video that I'm gonna leave somewhere, and I loved it. I didn't expect to love the Iliad. I absolutely fucking loved it. So anyways, I want to do it again. Long story longer, I want to do it again. But we're gonna do it in reverse this time because we like to mix it up in this channel. We don't. I love routine. I hate if you make something up, like I need to put in writing everything that's gonna happen. Unless, if I don't do that, I will have a panic attack. I will shake so much. You do not understand at all. Anyways, we're gonna do it. And I'm also excited because this was one of the books that has been in my TBR for fucking years because of Jesse the Reader. I love Jesse the Reader. I trust him. I love him. I love his content. I love his personality. I love the videos. I love the edit. I love everything. And this was one of the books that he loved. So I'm fucking excited because of that. It's also a retelling. Of Romeo and Juliet. Last year, I started reading Shakespeare. I picked up Shakespeare again, and it was one of the best times of last year. It was like definitely a highlight in my book journey. This is These Violent Delights, and it's a line from actually like my favorite part of Romeo and Juliet. These violent delights will have violent ends or endings, and oh my god, I highlighted that. So oh my god, I loved it. I loved Romeo and Juliet so fucking much. It was the start of an obsession, and I'm still obsessed. This version, my version, it doesn't have a blurb, so I'm not gonna be able to read you the back of the book. We're gonna discover it, and I can't look it up because I'm filming on my phone. You're my phone right now. I meant the summary, not the blurb. There are blurbs in the back by people, and it says full of glitter, which we don't like, suspense and gore, which we love. These Violent Delights takes readers into the perilous world of 1926 Shanghai. That is so fucking exciting to me. Yes. I've never read this author before. I've never read this author before, so I am fucking excited. I am excited. Let's go into this journey together and hopefully fall in love. I just finished 1,000 Boy Kisses, and that was the biggest fucking disappointment like ever, and I need a pick me. I need something. Please be something. I'm gonna see you I would like to clarify that my mental state and energy and all around vibe in this segment of this video has nothing to do with the book and how I'm feeling towards the book. It's me, I'm the problem. I've reached the 200-page mark and I haven't updated you since we saw each other in the intro, and I'm sorry, I just couldn't. But we have a lot to talk about because a lot happened. So the story is following a lot of things. It's not just a Romeo and Juliet retelling, which I'm so grateful for. I love retellings when they focus on the original storyline and they, you know, get inspired, let's say, from it as much as they can. But I prefer it like this, when they like take an idea and completely change it to fit their own. It's like Project Mira, if you remember that book. I like that aspect. We have a lot to talk about. You and I am talking about us. We have a lot to talk about. So what the story is. And it's set in the 1920s in Shanghai, and it is such a plot. It's so good of a plot. It's a plot. It's one hell of a plot. It's following the rivalry of two families, obviously the Juliet's family and Romeo's family, and we're gonna get into the names in a little bit. But they're not just like, there isn't just a family feud between them like in the original, but a whole, like, they're both gangsters and the gangs that, you know, hold the city, and there's a blood feud between them. We get to know like what happened and why it became a blood feud a little bit into the story, but I like how it's done. Let's start with the start of the book, the prologue. It was everything you want in a prologue. Intriguing, just the right amount of intrigue, just the right amount of what is happening here, just the right amount of everything, and I ended up really liking it. It was a good show, or like a perfect summary of what's to come. You know that there's gonna be enemies to lovers, you know that there's gonna be a romance, you know that there's gonna be a lot that's gonna happen. You know it's gonna be bloody, it's gonna be, you know, mafia-esque, and it was just the perfect summary to the book without it being too blurby. Back to the names. I love the play on words when it comes to like taking from the original play and making it into this. So Juliet's original name is Juliet Capulet, and then we have Romeo Montag, and the Montags became Montagoves, and the Capulets became Tai or Tai. It depends on the dialect that you're reading the book in. Which brings me to my other point. There's so much, like, we have a lot of backgrounds going around, which I absolutely love. So it is set in Shanghai, but then we have a lot of intruders, we have a lot of different backgrounds and a lot of different dialects going on, and it's something that I enjoy a lot in books. It gave me a lot of Ketterdam energy. It gave me a lot of Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom energy, and I love Ketterdam. I love the vibe that we get from reading those books. The gangs, the drugs, that grummy sort of way of living. It's in here, and I liked it. I like how there's an enemies to lovers and then back to enemies, and then they're slowly working their way up while still remaining enemies, but there's this like familiarity with them. I like how that's done, and I love especially the part where all of this is living in the background, while like the main plot, the forefront, is what's going on with the drugs, what's going on with everything. It's both done in a better way than just like giving us this useless plot in the background and then the forefront being the main romance, where they could have just had a romance without the fucking useless background, like fighting and everything, if that makes any sense. I also like it because it continuously gives us something. I also like it because it continuously gives us something to look forward to when we are following Romeo and Juliet and they're doing something together. They're still affiliated with the gang. They're still like doing something for the gang and to try to find out what is happening. And when we are following the other plot, because there is like this madness going around, the distribution of some sort of drug that's making people end themselves in like horrendous ways. They're trying to investigate what is happening with that, which makes us want more interaction with them. I personally found that the writing is a little bit difficult to follow. Like sometimes I have to reread sentences for them to make sense because of its formatting and the structure of the phrases and how they're written. Basically how the words fit together. Like each word on its own makes sense, but then you combine them into one phrase and they become difficult to understand. I also found it a little bit slow. Like I'd be reading for hours and I just made it to like 20 pages or something, so it's a little bit slow moving. Finding it a little bit difficult to see what's happening and to imagine what's happening, like imagine the characters. I've never had a problem. Some people can't really see like the characters and their faces and details, but I see all of that shit. Like there is a Quentin Tarantino movie going into my head. But with this one, I find it like difficult to imagine things. Like to put hair color to the right person, eye color to the right person, mannerism to the right person, age to the right person. It's just difficult. I'm an easy person to please, and I wasn't really into the romance between them. Like it was cool or whatever, but I didn't like think, oh, it's like melting my heart and it's cute until this. She says, what would I be if I weren't a Kai? And he says, you would be in Montego. I was like, they're cute, okay? They're cute. And it made me like look forward to the interactions between them. And then I remembered how the original play ended, how it ends and what happens. And I don't know. I hope they don't do that. I am halfway. This is a 400-page book. And yeah. So this is my update so far. I like it. I was expecting a little bit more, I'm not gonna lie, but it's too early to say that in my opinion. So yeah. It's next morning. It's a different day. I want to hold on to hope. You don't understand. I want to hold on to hope as much as possible. Okay? Okay? But it's not looking that good. So I am about 300 pages in. Yeah. So far in the story, I honestly think it would have been a little bit better if everyone was just a little bit older. Not the parents, but just the main characters were a little bit older. Were a little bit older. Their parents are in their 50s. Every other gangster is in maybe their 30s, their mid-20s, something like that, something believable. And then you have the main character who are 18. It's like all this stuff is happening. They're drinking, they do this, they do that, and she's 18. I don't know how to feel about that. I don't really like it that much. It honestly, like, makes me want to take 7-hour-long breaks. Because of like the way it's written. The story is okay. It's good, not just okay. But just how slow paced it is. It's like it makes me read one chapter and then put it down and take 2 hours, a break, do something else, and then invent other things to do because I'm not like that excited about going back to this world. One good thing that I noticed is that all of the shit that happens here, like the badassery that's happening with the character, the fighting, the action, all of that, and there's no cringe, which is so fucking difficult to do. I found that the writing sometimes gets a little bit too pretentious, like it just adds things that are unnecessary, in my opinion. Nothing new much happened in the story. It's just Roma, who's Romeo, but he's called Roma here, and Juliet took it upon themselves to investigate what the fuck is happening because no one is taking responsibility. Told you like people are dying, and then they're trying to investigate what sort of drug dropped out, what sort of person is supplying it, and how to stop them and shit like that. So they took it upon themselves to try and crack the mystery of what the fuck is happening undercover against their own gangs and families because they're enemies or whatever. Because their own families couldn't, like they tried but they couldn't get past the feud, the blood feud, to help each other for the greater good. And all this led to a plot that I could see a mile away. Like as soon as they said few things, I connected the dots.
I connected the dots and I could see what's happening. Stuff is happening in the story. It's not boring, it's not that, it's just happening in a pace and described in a way that's not keeping me intrigued enough. It's the same vibe and energy and pace we started the book with. That's what I'm trying like to translate to you through a screen. It's the same energy we started with. Even though stuff is happening and stuff happened, it's still the same vibe. The only difference is that Juliet and Roma are now undercover together against the families. I personally like politics in books like this, and honestly actually deem them necessary, because even though it's fantasy, but not having politics in a plot like this will detach me from the story and the plot itself, because it's supposed to have politics. But in this case, it's too much to where it takes the fun out of reading the story. Following the unraveling of the plot and like the character growth and all of that, it just makes it difficult to focus. It just makes it difficult to focus. So far, it's okay. It's not like great, but it's just okay. We do have about 100 pages to go, and I do hope like these last 100 pages have a lot to give, have like so much pressure on them for me, and I hope it lives up to it, because I am upset. Like, I was expecting so much more, and not that it's not good, it's okay, but I wasn't expecting okay, I was expecting good. But I am sticking with it. It's not like a DNF sort of book, but if I were to DNF it right now, I would have been okay. This was a roller coaster. I don't know how to feel. Finished. She's a beauty. She's the moment. This cover is... I didn't talk about the cover for some reason, and I should have, because this cover is it. If anyone, for the love of God, can tell me what the character is on the sword, I will. Yes. Okay, so we know that we are not mentally all there, and that we get into points in our lives where we are a little bit unstable, and my last installment in this video was one of those moments. My brain was a little bit foggy. I was having brain fog, and I could not see stuff clearly, and I actually reread almost half of the book. So last time I saw you, I had about 100 pages left to go through, and then things made sense to me, and I went back and read the last 100 pages that I talked to you about, and I have different opinions. Remember how I told you that the writing doesn't make sense in parts? I still feel slightly like that, like 20% less or like 30% less, because the writing is fucking beautiful. I literally cried. I was crying. There's nothing to cry this. I didn't sob or anything, but I started tearing up. I might be like super emotional right now for some reason, but I started crying. And in my notes, it's literally written, why am I crying? I don't know. Somewhere above, past those clouds and brisk winds, the North Star was spinning atop the world with no regard for anything else. Hope was dangerous. Hope was the most vicious evil of them all, the thing that had managed to thrive in Pandora's box among misery and disease and sadness, and what could endure alongside others with such teeth if it didn't have ghastly claws of its own. At this point, I started crying. I really did not realize it. This is gonna be so fucking cringy what I'm about to say, and like I picked it from a book, but I did not realize it until I felt it on my cheeks, that I was actually tearing up. I don't know why, but the writing is so freaking beautiful, the way the words are connected together. Yes, I did have hard times figuring out what the fuck he was talking about half of the time, but I was wrong. And I'm a hypocrite, and I know it, and I'm admitting it right now. I lied to you. That's what happened. I lied to you. It's not like completely changed and it's like entirely my fault. There's still parts, because even after that beautiful part that got me tearing up for some unknown, unfathomable reason, my next note is I'm still confused, and I was still confused. It gotten better. it gotten way better, and it did keep me intrigued. Like the last parts that I read kept me on my freaking toes. Like it kept me intrigued so much and reading as fast as possible so I would know what happened. The plot that I told you I saw coming a mile ago was completely wrong. Yes, the plot thickened. It thickened so bad. It was thicker than a bowl of oatmeal. I love it. It still held on to being difficult to visualize a lot of parts for me personally, and I know that this is something that has to do with the writing and the structure of the book and how it's written, because I am a visualization queen. I visualize my books, direct a movie in my head, like a perfect movie in my head, and I had a hard time knowing what the fuck was happening. The monster in this book didn't make sense to me. Yes, there is a monster. No, it doesn't make sense. So remember how I told you that there is a thing happening and then trying to like figure it out and save the city? Yeah, there is like a monster that is made of insects, which is so fucking disgusting, and they acknowledge that it's disgusting in the book, so I'm happy about that. But it's disgusting. Like it's made out of bees and it's made man-made, and it's just fucking disgusting. And it's this whole political dilemma, like immigrants versus the native people of China, and it's beautiful. Like the story and every plot in like the side plots, it's beautiful. It's not just one plot, it has a lot of plots, side plots going in, and it's brilliant writing. But this virus, these insects, when they get into you, get inside you, they make you want to self-end in a gruesome way, and everyone like was doing it so freaking fast, and you have no time to save anyone, and like they had so much trouble. There's this scientist doctor that like wanted a live victim so that they would try to see what the fuck is happening. I had a hard time giving him a live like victim, right, to experiment on. Like this is a quick death, right? But then we have our buddy Roma, which is like a point that I just hated. We have our buddy Roma who got infected, but like not even one. See, that's the problem with the victims. You have one insect that like transforms into a second and a third, and until you have like hundreds, and then you die, like you kill yourself. But then with Roma, he literally has millions of insects all around him, millions. But then we have him, even with all of that, and even while everyone else kills themselves 2.5 seconds into starting this madness, like when this madness affects them, we have our buddy who survived, who waited for Juliet to have a fight with someone and a near-death experience with someone and kill 2 people and look for an insect and see different details and go running after him, and he still somehow survived and managed to control himself, while before it's described like perfectly that again and again that like it doesn't give you any time and you're not yourself anymore, and you can't control your hands, and you don't know like what you're doing, and you just end up fucking yourself up. And also when she went to him, he was just nonchalant. They say that he was so close to tearing open, like to completely take his head off his neck, and like completely so close to like beheading himself and stuff. But then he woke up and he kissed her on her temple, and he talked to her and had a normal conversation about something completely different. How is he having a conversation with his crush with half his throat gouged out? You think he'd be a little bit shocked? You'd think he'd be a little bit apprehensive on talking since his throat is fucked up, but no, he wakes up, he talks to her, he kisses her, he's having a heartfelt moment while his throat is half open. I don't understand why was that necessary. To have the emotional conversation later, have it later. Right now, do something that feels realistic to the story. Roma has a sister, her name is Elisa, and she gets infected, and then she gets put under in like a medicated coma so she wouldn't end herself until they found a cure, because they had the time to like hold her. She was a tiny little girl, and they had the force to hold her and stuff like that. The mother insect dies. Juliet kills the mother insect, right? Oh my god, I just spoiled everything. Okay, this is not a spoiled-free. This is too late to say this, but this is not a spoiled-free vlog. But Elisa wakes up, like when the mother insect dies, all the small insects die with her, and they like crawl out of her body and immediately die after they crawl out of her body, and then she wakes up. My question is, how is she waking up? She wasn't unconscious because of the insects. She was under medically in a medicated coma. Like, even if she's fine now and the insects are out of her body and out of her brain and stuff and they're all dead, she still needs an anesthesiologist to wake her up slowly, right? Let's say not slowly. She still needs a doctor to wake her up because she was still in a coma. But in the book, she just woke up alone after they were gone. And I don't know why that was there. Final question is, why the hell did no one tell me that this isn't a standalone? I just like lost my speech. Why did no one tell me that this isn't a standalone? This is the first one and it ends on a cliffhanger. Why? Why? It ends on a terrible cliffhanger. It ends on a terrible cliffhanger because the last few chapters we got more details from Juliet and Roma's relationship, and it was the part that made me a little bit like tear up a little bit for some reason, and it was so cute and I loved it. It was the part that made it like a better book for me, but then it just gets fucked up to the plot, right? It, like, for the necessities of the plot, it gets fucked up, and no one told me. And yes, it's my fault. I should have like researched it more, but in my defense, I didn't want to research so I won't get spoiled. Yes, I'm definitely gonna read the second one because I need to know, and I need to train my brain to not fuck up words because I like this. When I like try my hardest to focus, words make sense to me, but then when I don't, nothing makes sense. This was okay, and then in the middle it was just fine, and then by the end it got better, but it wasn't like as good as it was hyped up to be, in my opinion, like for me personally. If you're a fan of Six of Crows, you will like this. Wait, that doesn't make sense. I'm a huge fan of Six of Crows, and this isn't like, but it has like the same vibe. Definitely went off the rails when it comes to, like, if you're expecting an actual Romeo and Juliet retelling, no, but it was done in such a pretty brilliant way. This ended up being a 3.5 because thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you've read the book, if you liked it, if you didn't, what you think about it, and yeah. If you have any recommendations for me to read, drop them down in the comments. I'll be more than happy to read your recommendations, as I did so many fucking times already. Not that many, like 3 times. Thank you for watching. Bye! I'll see you in the next video, or whatever.